bill. Thank you, Mr Speaker.
I understand the next call is a split call. Andrew Williams, 5 minutes. Andrew Little.
Andrew Little. That's right. That's all right, Mr Speaker. I've only been in nearly 3 years. It's easy to forget.
My apologies to Mr Little.
It's all right, Mr Speaker. Thank you. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak on the West Coast Windblown Timber Conservation Lands Bill. And it's a bit rich of that member to claim that the National Party is the great loved one of the West Coast. They loved their last National MP so much they threw him out at the last election. That's what... the truth is this. The truth is this. The West Coast thrived under the last Labor government. They opened up mining. They had great investment in mining and in other activities. Their tourism blossomed. I don't think they have a Blossom Festival on the West Coast. They may well do. But tourism at least. Tourism flourished under the last Labor government. The dairy industry, the milk flush is flushing. It's been a great time on the West Coast under the last Labor government. One thing is absolutely clear about this bill, however. This is not a West Coast economic development measure. This is a cynical manipulation by a desperate national government of a difficult situation for the West Coast, an area, a region of the country that has been hard hit by economic downturn and now by weather events. And what does the national government do? What does the national government do? They manipulate, they calculate, they connive, they cajole. They are not about good quality, sustainable economic development. They are about manipulating people in a difficult and sensitive time of their lives. So here's the reality. Here's the reality. There are two things that are very important to members on this side of the House and I think to all New Zealanders. One is conservation, and certainly preservation of the conservation estate. That has been a cast-iron principle for this party and this side of the House for time immemorial. That is an important principle. And the other important principle, Mr Speaker, is promoting economic development, particularly in the regions, and especially now on the West Coast of the South Island of New Zealand, let's be absolutely specific, coming from a West Coast electorate myself, but it happens to be in the North Island. But what we have in this country now in most regions, including in Taranaki, but actually especially in the West Coast, people crying out for a government that understands regional economic development, crying out for a government that's prepared to do a serious regional economic development plan, not this sort of spontaneous, opportunistic, manipulative strategy that we've got from the government at the moment. Oh, no, siree. No, that's not what we want. We want a proper, serious economic development plan, and this is not it. Now, I personally have no objection to the extraction of windfall timber. But what I don't like, and what the Labor Party and my colleagues don't like, is the manipulative, silly, dumb way that this government goes about dealing with this issue. You don't need to have a 5-year time frame. You don't need to eradicate coverage of the Resource Management Act on this sort of stuff for that sort of length of period of time. And then the other thing you need to be is totally and utterly honest with the people who you claim to be benefiting. Now, Chris Ockenvold sits there, Cheshire grin on his face, because he knows he's in trouble, even though he's on his way out. He knows when he goes back to the coast, and he goes back to the coast and has to rub shoulders with the rich and the wealthy of the coast, he's going to have to explain, why is it, Mr Ockenvold, that when this bill is passed, actually the West Coast won't see much as a result of it? Because it's going to be all the people outside the region of the West Coast, be mills all up and down the South Island, because there ain't many in the West Coast area that can actually accommodate the timber that's going to be processed. And why is it there will be very few suppliers of allied services that will benefit from this? This is just a joke. This is National Party of old. The old Muldoon, this is the sort of Clyde Down empowering legislation equivalent in 2014. It will do nothing for the people who it claims to benefit most. That is nasty sort of politics, nasty National Party. It won't help the people, but above all, it is a manipulation of important protections in this country, we have in this country, for the conservation estate, with open-ended abuse of protection rights, and it has nothing to do with jobs on the West Coast. There's only one party that understands that, and it's the Labor Party, because we have experts in Damon O'Connor We have experts in the last government that did so well in job generation when we were last in government.
Point of order.
Order. I'm calling Gareth Hughes, 5 minutes.
Point of order.
Point of order, Gareth Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This isn't a speaking slot, it's a point of order. I seek leave at the conclusion of this first reading that this bill is sent to the Local Government Environment Select Committee for a 2-week period with a report back date of the 10th of July so the public can have a say on this important matter.
Well, leave is sought for that purpose. Is there any objection? There is objection. Calling Gareth Hughes. Sorry?
Mr. Speaker.
Catherine Delahunty.
Thank you.
Are you taking the call?
Yes, I am, Mr.
Sorry.
Speaker.
Catherine.